Hey guys, welcome back to JS Lifestyle channel. Today I'll be sharing you 7 things I wish I knew before I started my career in finance 7 years ago. I can still remember how nervous I was on my first day, and I was actually seeking for tips and advices, which was not always so easy to find at the time. But after 7 years in the industry, I have experienced quite a bit and wanted to share with you, which will hopefully be beneficial for your first day at your job. I started my career in a European investment bank. I left here after about 5 years to pursue a role in a US-based trading company, and that's where I'm currently employed right now. In terms of locations, I stayed 4.5 years in Tokyo and then internally transferred to Hong Kong location and been working here since for the last 2.5 years. For roles, I started as a trade support role and then moved through different sectors of the firm as project manager, business manager, and operating manager. Just one thing to note as a disclaimer, I may not be an expert in specific products or desks that you might be interested in joining, but due to the nature of my job, I think I was fortunately able to see bits and pieces of the financial firm structure and how they do business. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First point is your first weeks are gonna be really boring. When I first joined, I had this wrong expectation that I will be one of the guys like in Big Short, Wolf of Wall Street, just instantly. But in reality, I had to go through a lot of trainings, internal trainings, compliance training for the first 2 weeks. And even after those 2 weeks, I was only doing simple tasks, which at the time felt like wasn't really my maximum output, if you know what I mean. I felt like I could do way more than they were asking me for. I even thought maybe I joined the wrong firm or team and was actually thinking about switching a team or firm. But the funny thing is, all of my school friends who joined at a similar time period were having similar experiences regardless which team or firm they were. Looking back now, it is not that that specific team wasn't trusting me, but they wanted to give new joiners room for errors while they learn new stuff. And think about it, if they give you all of the sudden risky tasks that has like financial or reputational impact for the firm, they don't have the luxury to let you fail. So my 2 cents is that please have patience for the first 6 months or even 12 months. It's going to be constant back and forth of proving yourself to the team, how fast and how much you can pick up. So please don't judge too fast what the team or firm has to offer for your career growth. Number 2 is always try to show good vibe and good energy to the team. This may sound like a cliche line, but still a lot of new joiners are not following this. For the records, this does not mean create like a false fake character, but I'm just trying to say, try to amplify your positive aspects. Let me give you an example of a new joiner I hired a few years back. This person wasn't the strongest candidate in terms of intellectual ability or like technical skill sets, but this person always had this positive vibe. He was, even though it's not his team colleague, he would always say good morning when he comes, and every day after work, he wouldn't just disappear or vanish after work is over, but he would always say, "Oh, have a great evening," and basically say goodbye, which sounds like a very simple and obvious thing to do, right? But still, a lot of new joiners fail to do so. Maybe they're because they're shy, or maybe they feel like the other colleagues are too busy. But I just wanted to say, in this person's example, this kind of good habit and attitude has given him a good first impression, not only within our team, but across the whole floor. And this is something which I was also lacking. One takeaway from this example is that note that you just joined the team, and the rest of the team might tend to get work done without you, unintentionally. So try to remind the team that you're there and willing to help out where required. This will not only impact your first impression, which usually lasts longer than you think, but also will increase your opportunity to be trained up by your colleagues of the new skills or tasks faster. Third point is, don't be afraid of asking questions and making mistakes. When you first join, you might feel everyone is too busy doing their job. and you're probably right. However, as a new joiner, please note that you are entitled to ask questions, and not asking questions will only negatively impact yourself along the line. Because think about it, rest of the team will have a certain expectation that, oh, this person joined X months ago, so their knowledge and skill level should be at this level. But if you're not, because you didn't ask the right questions, that would only be negatively impacting you. So please do ask questions. Of course, this does not mean bombard your rest of the team with questions all the time. You should still be mindful, try to understand the peak hours of the team, and try to avoid those times. One way of doing that I personally found useful is that you could just set up an end-of-day daily catch-up with your buddy or mentor or manager in the team so that you can ask them questions without any pressure during that time period. It can be just something like 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and you don't even need to use it if you don't have any questions, but it just gives you that time slot. Also, one similar note regarding mistakes. As I mentioned on my previous point before, you are entitled to learn from your mistakes as a new joiner, and it will be a toxic team environment if they expect you make no mistakes since day one. I think regarding mistakes, the more important thing is that when you make mistakes, don't try to give excuses and try to hide it. Just be transparent about your mistakes and provide your colleagues the reason why you think you made that mistake. Could be just lack of knowledge, or you didn't pay attention, but just be open about it and learn from the mistakes and try not to make the same mistake twice. First point is think of what value you can bring to the team. I know this can be very vague, but what I mean is try to find better ways of doing things while you learn certain processes within that team. Because you have the unfair advantage of fresh pair of eyes. Because if you think about it, as time goes by and you get used to the process itself, sooner or later you will not be able to see the inefficiency of the process because your brain is saying like, oh, this is how we used to do it. So this is actually the perfect time to suggest new ways of doing things and find more efficient ways of doing things. And don't be afraid. Of course, there might be cases where you suggest something and as it turns out, you didn't see the whole picture or you didn't know enough background information and your suggestions might get shut down. But that is okay because at least you learned something and people around you can see that you are constantly trying to improve, which is a good thing. Fifth point is try to visualize a high-level picture of the firm and department in any kind of firm, especially more so if you work for a big international firm. Chances are you will be actually interacting with 1% or even less of the whole firm during your entire career. So utilize the first few weeks of less busy days and try to draw a picture in your head of the whole organization and where you sit within that. The reason why I'm advising you this is that sooner or later, your responsibilities and scope is going to grow with you along your career. Unless you are like a specialist in one field, you will be owning a team or desk or certain business in the future, where you will need to learn to look at things from a macro point of view. So if you build the foundation during your early stages, it'll be way easier to pick up later in the future when you actually have to. So a lot of questions I personally got is that, so how do I draw that picture? Well, I would say it really depends on your firm's infrastructure, but a good starting point is always going to be browsing through the intranet, looking at organizational charts internally, look at past town hall materials with senior managers about the vision and mission of the firm or department, etc. Sixth point is find a role model or mentor you want to be in X number of years. This might constantly change over time as you grow, but that is okay. You don't even need to tell that person that they are your goal or mentor. If you set a role model, try to observe what that person has done and is doing. You can even ask them questions about how they felt or what their goal was when they were at your career point, so that you can get some hints or advice in order to achieve what they have achieved. Of course, what I learned so far is that every career is different, but this will at least give you a reference that you can learn from their mistakes. And hopefully, you don't have to make those mistakes that those people made and can achieve that goal faster than them. Seventh point, last but not least, is don't burn out. This is probably the biggest point I would like to get out there. So what I think is happening is that due to the will to do great, they never say no to anything and try to absorb more than they can chew. Even putting aside the fact that everyone is different, the people who are around you probably did that job for years, if not decades, meaning it's almost their second nature for them now. So even if you do the same amount as the person next to you, it takes them way less effort and concentration. Whereas for you, you were either at school or different industries, so your brain capacity is already fully occupied with understanding the new concepts and putting the pieces together. Always remember, this is not a sprint, but a marathon. Focus on increasing the quality of your output rather than quantity, because whatever output you bring out there, that is going to be your brand. So if you think you cannot handle anymore, please raise your voice for help or reallocation. You would be actually surprised that they are usually very supportive if you raise your voice. I know some new joiners are scared to ask this, but let me tell you this. It is better that you gradually grow rather than being the superstar in that team for 1-2 years and then get sick and go on sick leave. One caveat to that is that I know some teams and financial firms sort of forces new joiners to adopt to crazy working hours, but even in those cases, please constantly check your condition yourself, and worst case, you have to leave, because you might be losing a job, but it is better to lose a job than your health. So these were the 7 points. Obviously, these 7 pointers are mainly soft skills, and you might want to adjust depending on your team or firm, but hopefully you learned something from my experience and mistakes. If so, please hit that like button and subscribe, and thank you so much for your precious time.